If you could have one superpower, what would it be? And would you use it to make the world a better place? Let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. Welcome back if you're returning. Today I will be reviewing, Superman 2025. I've been dreading to do this review. But just because I did like it, but there's so much I want to cover and I want to do it right. I've watched it 3 times now. But let me start off by telling you that I am, of course, when it comes to comic books and comic book movies, there's 2 big competitors, Marvel and DC. I'll be honest, I'm a big DC fan. I started off with Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Static Shock, Justice League Unlimited. I just kept going, Legion of Superheroes, and also later on, Young Justice. I've always been into DC. And also the movies, Christopher Reeves, the Dark Knight trilogy. What else? Brandon Routh Superman. I remember that one. When it comes to Marvel, though, honestly, when it comes to Marvel, I'm a big X-Men and Daredevil fan. X-Men because of the movies, of course. They've just been, so iconic. But Daredevil because of the Netflix show. Daredevil really that show really brought me into it. Loved it. I've watched the occasional Marvel movie, but let me tell you, I'm just a way bigger DC fan, and I've needed for them to get their shit together, and it honestly seems like they're headed in the right direction. This is the first movie in a bigger cinematic universe, and I'm excited. So let me just stop wasting time and let's just get into that review. I'll be doing it in 3 sections, so let's just jump into it. Okay, I'm sorry, I had to charge my camera real quick. It was dying, but I'm gonna go ahead and start by giving you the synopsis. When Superman gets drawn into conflict at home and abroad, his actions are questioned. Giving tech billionaire Lex Luthor the opportunity to get the Man of Steel out of the way for good. Will intrepid reporter Lois Lane and Superman's 4-legged companion Krypto be able to help him before it's too late? This movie came out July the 8th. Did it come July? I don't think that's right. When did it come out? Give me 1 second. Oh, it came out July the 11th. Although I did watch it July the 8th because of the Amazon early screening thing. But okay. I'm gonna go ahead and break down this interview into 3 parts. 5 parts, actually. So let me start off with the first part. That being, give me a second. That being the hero. Boom. Okay, yes. So my first part is, oh, by the way, I'm wearing my Superman t-shirt. Just to stay in theme with it. So yes, the first part is the heroes. So I'm gonna start with Superman, played by David Cornsweet. Now, let me tell you, I love David Cornsweet. I loved his performance. I wasn't familiar with his work before, but after watching this, I do see myself diving into his filmography. Everything I know he was on Pearl. Haven't watched the Pearl movies. The Maxine Pearl X movies. I think I might react to them, to be honest, but I'm willing to just start it just to see his small part, because I believe he has a small part there. Very tiny part, actually. I think he was I hear a lot of people talking about Hollywood, a miniseries that he was on. I don't know what else he was on, but I like him as Superman. He invokes that nice guy. I felt like he did. I went to go watch it. By the way, I've watched it 3 times now. I I don't know if I mentioned it before this on my intro, to be honest, because again, I had to charge my camera, so like it's been a while since I don't remember everything I said in my intro, but I watched it 3 times. I went with a friend the 3rd time, and he said that he didn't invoke that Christopher Reeves nice guy, that he was like a little bit emotional, which I agree. He was emotional. He was upset. There were times where he seemed like upset, but at the end of the movie, no spoilers by the way, but you sort of hear him talk about how like he's also human, and you know, he feels things like every other human does, you know, because yeah, he's Kryptonian, but he was raised by 2 people from Kansas, you know, like he's just like anybody else, you know, at least that's how he was raised, you know. And I don't know how I feel about this depiction of like Kryptonians being like this like gold standard of like beings that, oh, like he comes from outer space, that he's not supposed to be like us humans, he's supposed to be like this person. But it does, that idea somewhat does get flipped on its head, because there is like a twist with his parents that I won't spoil, with his backstory that I won't spoil, but you know, it just goes to show that, you know, regardless of where he came from, he's a good person deep down inside, you know, and that's incredible, and I love it. He honestly has very good comedic timing. He does. I like it. He's funny. He can also do drama. You'll understand what I mean by comedic timing. Again, no spoilers, but there's this thing where he's trying to turn off a recorder. That's all I'll say. But he's really funny there. Overall, I really liked him. Not gonna lie, my favorite Superman is Christopher Reeves, and he's David Cornsweet is teetering, like maybe neck and neck, maybe a little beneath. I don't know about above, but he's just right there with Christopher Reeves. Yes, he was a great Superman. I loved it. He was a human Superman, but he like values life a lot, you know, and I really like that. No matter how small, whether it be like a small little rodent type of thing or a humongous destructive thing, you know, he's like, no, like there's no killing, and I respect that about him. What's another thing that I'd want to mention about him? Let me think. So he does value life a lot, and also he does make no spoilers again, but there's one thing that Lois mentions about him, because she just somewhat doesn't understand how he can view life the way he does, or people the way he does. She says, you know, you look at everybody, and the way you look at them, it's like they're like the most beautiful person in the world, or something like that. Like they're so beautiful. And I feel like she means like, you know, inside, like he's like surpasses the exterior and just like looks deep inside you, and it's like there's potential there. He sees the good in everybody, even like Luthor, you know, like even the people that, you know, he goes up against, he fights, you know, like no, like and that's honestly why he won't kill. Because no, like I can't, he doesn't say this, but you know, it's always been that like it's always been that idea, you know, when people talk about why doesn't Superman or Batman kill, it's like I won't steal that opportunity from you, from like of you like being able to like be better, you know, because even he says it, like, you know, he wakes up and like takes every day, he takes life day by day, he puts one foot after the other, which is like a straight line that he says in the movie that really hit me. And he tries to make the best choices he can every single day, which is that shit really hit me, to be honest. What else? Okay, but I will say, you know, because obviously I like the movie, but I'm gonna say some negative things, and that being that I didn't see like the journalist part of him. He was just like a journalist. This majority of the movie, you are gonna get Superman. You're not really gonna see Clark, which is fine for a first movie, you know, of course. Very much like the Batman with Robert Pattinson, we majority of the time saw Batman, not really Bruce Wayne, but it's cool. It's cool. I really enjoyed it. And again, that's like just one little thing I would want to say is that like I didn't get the journalistic part of Clark or Superman, you know, like in the animated show. Of course that is an animated show, but like you saw, like he's using his powers to like sort of like dive in and like explore and like investigate. Here there's like an inconvenience or like something that happens and he just like brushes it off. The one person who does somewhat like start questioning things and sort of pieces everything together is Lois, but I'll go ahead and get that. I'll go ahead and touch that in the other segments. But that's what I'll say. That's what I'll say about that. Now the other heroes, because this does fall into the heroes segment of this part, would be Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. Now I really liked him. He had this sort of like charisma to him. Again, no spoilers, but there is like a part where somebody tries to help him, but he's all like, I don't need your help, I'm Mr. Terrific. And he knows, I want to say he's like the opposite of Lex Luthor, you know. I want to say he's the opposite of Lex Luthor. That's how I saw it, because this guy, he knows what he's capable of, but he's like humble, you know, but also he's safe. And I like the way he carried himself, you know. He seemed a little cold when it came to like Lois needing the heroes' help, but ultimately he gave in and he was like, all right, I will help you. And he sort of like made it seem like I'm only doing this to like piss off somebody, but it seemed like, you know, like he wanted to do it, because I will say in this world does hit the ground running. Like, you know, it's the third year that Superman's been Superman, but it's obviously like established that there's been superheroes before him. But it does seem like Superman, of course he doesn't kill, but it does seem like these other heroes don't have that rule. They don't hold that rule as strictly as Superman does. So it does seem like they're more, you know, like more flexible, and you get a sense of that from these three heroes. But it seems like Mr. Terrific is sort of like that, but you see like sort of like a little glimpse of like not that, you know, like he wants to help, he will help, but not just help, but like he'll like, you know, in a situation where it seems like it's none of my problem, it's not our problem, he's like, no, I will help. And he does help Lois. So I really liked Mr. Terrific. He's so interesting. He has like a great scene. I'm really looking forward to seeing him like later in the future. Eddie Gathegi, he was in the X-Men movies. He got hoed so bad. He was playing Darwin, and he got killed off. Like, he got killed off right away. I don't even think he had like 3 minutes of screen time, maybe less. But Nathan Fillion, Guy Gardner, he's a jerk, obviously. Guy Gardner is a jerk. That's cool. I guess that's from what my understanding, that's how he is like in the comic books. So that's valid, sure. Again, him and Mr. Terrific and Hawkgirl, they do have that sense of like they don't hold themselves to the same rules that Superman does. They're not terrible people, but they do what they do with no like with no caution of like destruction, or like, hey, be careful, or like, you know, or like you just have to watch it and see what I'm talking about. But it does seem where Mr. Terrific sort of had that like sort of glimpse of like, no, I will help. Guy Gardner ended up having that later towards the end of the movie. So I do see like sort of these characters having that later in the future. Maybe like I saw the character development of like these three heroes wanting to potentially like hold themselves to the standard that Superman holds himself as well. You know, it's very much Superman inspiring them to do better and be better, and that's beautiful. You know, because I walked away from that movie also doing that. So yeah, I sort of sense Guy Gardner doing that towards the end. Although Hawkgirl, it seems as though like these three characters had that like progression, except for Hawkgirl, which is cool, which is fine, because of course this is only the first movie. She does do something towards the end that seems like a little oof. I don't think Superman would be okay with that. I do believe there'd be some consequences towards that, but we don't explore that. I want to see where that goes later in the future. But these three characters, they're cool. I was about to forget somebody. Anthony Carrigan plays Metamorpho. Oh, by the way, Hawkgirl is played by Isabella Merced. So sorry, Isabella Merced, for not saying your name. Anthony Carrigan plays Metamorpho. And I would say this person sort of like puts himself all the way to the top in terms of like how closely aligned they are with like Superman. Because Superman, of course, is the golden standard of being a hero. You're supposed to be kind, no matter how small. Like, it's just, you know, like, he is the golden standard. He'll save anything and everyone. And, you know, he's got that, like, can-do attitude about him. And I believe Metamorpho would be over this. And this list isn't in terms of, like, who I think is better. This is in the list in, like, who I think is, like, closer to, like, how, like, you know, like, that standard of being close to Superman, you know? Because Metamorpho, of course, he does play like a crucial part in Superman's captivity, but you see that that he does feel some type of way when he's faced with like, oh no, people are starting to get hurt. Which is ironic because out of the three of these, yeah, Hawkgirl has wings, but Metamorpho, he looks like a monster. He looks ugly, to be honest. He looks ugly. He looks like a monster, but he might be the kindest one, you know? I'll say it. It's kind of a spoiler, not really, but you see him cry, you know? He might be the most, you know, like closest to Superman because you see him be emotional. He's like, I didn't want this to happen. No, people are getting hurt. And so I like that. So yeah, he surpasses all three of these guys. Again, it's ironic because he looks like a monster. And I fuck with that. I love that. And Crypto. God, that's a badass dog. Like, not badass. Of course, he's a cool dog, but a bad dog. Like a troublemaking dog. But he's cute, though. Of course, I don't think there's ever a shot of an actual dog in the scene. Honestly, I think it was all just CGI, but it didn't take me out of it. I loved Crypto. And there's a sort of cameo at the end that sort of explains why he's so bad, you know. Of course, your dog, I'm not like a pet owner, but I would imagine your dog's attitude is gonna reflect the way the owner sort of like raised him, or like lets him, like the stuff that the owner lets the pet get away with. So once you see the end, you're gonna be like, okay, that makes sense. But I liked Crypto. That was cool. Now we're gonna move on to the villains. Boom. The villains. Okay, the villains. Now, Nicholas Hoult plays Lex Luthor. Now, so far in the Superman live action movies that we've had, we've only ever had General Zod and Lex Luthor, and then some like original characters, because I believe like the third Superman movie from like Christopher Reeve days was like some like Lex Luthor type of villain. That was an original character, and then I believe the fourth movie was just like a Nuclear Man, but also had Lex Luthor. So we've seen it before. So, you know, obviously had something, you know, we've seen it so many times that, you know, at this point you really gotta like level it up. And I will say that this Lex Luthor was somewhat leveled up. I did enjoy this Lex Luthor. This Lex Luthor had a team where Superman had his team. He's obviously not part of the Justice Gang, but he did have those people somewhat in his corner. Not really. This Lex Luthor had his whole own personal Luthor Corp team, and I freaking loved it. Of course, the original movie had Otis and Eve Tessmacher. Those two characters are shown here, of course, but they just have way more maybe juicier parts here. I do believe, like, back then, I remember Otis being like sort of like a how do I say this nicely? He was a henchman goon type of guy, you know? Here, this Otis played by Terrence Rosemore. He's locked in, you know? It's freaking cool. It seems very much like Lex Luthor is running this team like the freaking Navy. Like there's this one scene, of course, no spoilers, but like Luthor looks over at Otis and he's like, he just makes like a motion, and Otis knows exactly what to do. He knows Lex Luthor's contingency plans. He knows what it means. He knows it's go time, even if the world is like falling apart or going to hell, going to shit. Like, he's all like, I'm behind Lex Luthor. He's prepared. Lex Luthor's like a smart guy, and like, yeah, let's go. He runs like a pretty tight ship. So yeah, like, I really enjoyed this about Lex Luthor. He truly has an arsenal, you know, whether it be his own metahumans, the engineer played by Maria Gabriela de Faria, or Ultraman. You know, he's got his own metahumans. He's got his own engineers with Otis, and there's somebody else. Stephen Blackheart. Stephen Blackheart has like these really big glasses that sort of like zoom into his eyes. Stephen Blackheart plays this guy named Sidney Happerson. But anyways, he runs this tight ship. He has his arsenal of he has metahumans, he has engineers, he has political allies, and he also has media relations. He's got, you know, talk shows that he makes appearances on. And without saying anything else, no spoilers, I would just say Twitter has a lot of bots, you know? Like, he uses all of these as like things in his arsenal. Like, you know, like he uses social media as like one of his weapons, you know, to go after Superman. And I freaking love that, you know? Another thing that I will say, of course, when it comes to Superman, he's like this like powerful being, and that is depicted here, but we do see Superman get laid out on his ass. We all know, even I feel like casuals know, that kryptonite is his weakness, but it seems like there's other ways to take him out. You know, here in this movie, we've seen kryptonite so many times. There's another cool way that they try to take him out here. And I was like, oh shit, that's a pretty smart idea. Just because of the fact that like we've somewhat seen it in the comic books. All I'll say is, imagine the Atom going inside of Superman and like putting like a shard of like kryptonite in his brain. It's obviously not that. I'm not spoiling it, but let's say maybe sometimes you gotta take him out internally. That's all I'll say. Eve Tessmacher, she's cool. She's okay. You know, she obviously ends up having like a way bigger role in the movie, but it's only okay. I wasn't like a whole big fan of that development. To be honest with you, to be super honest with you, I would have loved to have seen Mercy Graves here. If you don't know who Mercy Graves is, Eve Tessmacher obviously comes from like the 1978 Lex Luthor Superman movie, as Lex Luthor's like sort of like girlfriend, you know, who like just like follows him. But in the animated TV show, he has like a personal guard named Mercy Graves, and she's sort of like a cyborg. She has like a metal arm, and you know, I would have loved if but of course I guess that sort of goes to the engineer. But I don't know, maybe he could have had the engineer, Eve Tessmacher, and Mercy Graves and Ultraman all together. I don't know. That's what I would have loved. I would have liked that. Let me know if you think this movie was already too crowded to have Mercy Graves. But honestly, I wouldn't have minded it, to be honest. Maybe she could have taken the place of like one of the teams in like his like sort of like war room that he has, you know. And yeah, that's what I've got to say about the villains. Overall, I did like Lex Luthor. Actually, no, let me say one more thing. I didn't like how emotional he was. I know a lot of people are saying that they didn't like Superman being super emotional. I didn't think he was that emotional, honestly. If anything, I think Lex Luthor was too emotional. I feel like he was throwing tantrums, and I did not like that from Lex Luthor. Of course, I've seen that in Lex the animated Superman animated show, where he does have like sort of like you somewhat see always like his like eyebrows like sort of like scrunched, like always mad. But there's been, I don't know, honestly, I would have liked to have seen I don't know, I want to say I would have liked to have seen a more business side of him, but I feel like there was somewhat of that here in the beginning. Maybe there was, but I don't know. I would have wished if he would have been more cooler. Not cool as in like cool, but like more like laid back, relaxed. It sort of seems like Superman has followed his plan, but he still like has a cool face and just like, all right, yeah, you followed that plan, but buddy, I've got like 3 other ones backed up, ready to go. That wasn't the case. He seemed to be, he was crashing out a lot, to be honest. But that's okay. That's okay. That's cool. I'm okay about it. I'm not like fucking like making a whole big deal about it. That's all I'll say. Of course, maybe we do see more progression in the next movie. But yeah, that's what I would nitpick. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about this. So let's go to the next segment. The journalists. No. The Daily Planet. There we go. Okay, so now this segment, I'll start by talking about Lois Lane. Now, Lois Lane is played by Rachel Brosnahan. Now, I am familiar with Rachel Brosnahan. Okay, actually, I didn't even talk about Nicholas. So, again, I'm not super familiar with what's it called, David Cornsweet's acting, although I'll get familiar with it now. I'm not super familiar with Nicholas Holt's acting, although wait, I saw him on Warm Bodies, X-Men as Beast, and that's about it. But Rachel Brosnahan, I watched, the one thing that I can like really say I've watched her on is The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, where she did a phenomenal job. This actress is like super good, I'd say. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is about a stand-up comedian, about a housewife who goes through a divorce, and she ends up doing stand-up comedy. In this show, she had to do comedic timing, dramatic acting, just, she kept up, and she did so good, So, oh, she was also in The Amateur, which came out earlier this year, but she was barely in that. If you watch the trailer for The Amateur, it's not that big of a reveal, but she ends up dying. And that's what throws the main character into like going for revenge. So she's not that big of a part in that movie. I don't know why they put her in that movie. Honestly, they could have put anybody else, but I'm glad she's getting work. I'm just saying that I don't know why she was in that movie, because she's such a great actress, and it was just so like it's just a throwaway like role, like you get Rachel Brosnahan, you better have her for like a good like amount of the movie, she's a fucking great actress, and I really liked how she depicted Lois Lane, because she's obviously not like Superman. She's really not, Would I say she's the opposite of Superman? I don't think so. I'd say she's more like Luthor, maybe like Lex Luthor. She sort of sees the consequences. Oh, maybe she's more like Batman, really. And she sort of grills Superman, like, because of course Superman is sort of like a Boy Scout, like, buddy, people are gonna get hurt, but she's like, yes, I understand that, but the consequences of like going into another nation and like involving yourself in like, like political turmoil, she sees the way the world is, and like she's very PR trained, I'll say that. And she sticks to her guns. She's all like, she does interview Superman here, and I like how she was all like, no, like, just because of our, like, she knew the answers what she was gonna ask, but she still asked them, and she's not afraid, and but she's still, I don't know how to say this, like, she's still Superman's love interest, while also being the one who's like unraveling this sort of like onion thing that's unfolding within the movie, like her being a Superman's love interest doesn't like diminish her or like make her anything less. Sort of like how Zoe Kravitz played Catwoman in the Batman, she had her own arc as well in the Batman, and so does Lois Lane here, because it's like something involving Superman, but she's a reporter. She's like, no, she's like going down a rabbit hole, something that she's got like an inkling of, and she's like, no, I gotta crack it, and she does. That's what I was gonna say, actually. I had mentioned that like Superman didn't have that like journalistic dog in him and like trying to like solve it himself. Of course he was dealing with like more like physical threats, and like that was his sort of part of the movie, but Lois Lane sort of takes that from him, but it's cool because that's who she is. She's obviously a better journalist than he is, and maybe I said that wrong. She didn't take that from him. She just sort of like carried that in this movie, because she definitely didn't take it from him. She was just, it was more emphasized. It was more emphasized in her character, because it is in her character to be more curious and be all like, like look at the bigger picture and see there's something here. So I appreciated that from her. I've heard some people say that she looks like Margot Kidder, and I somewhat see that, but I see her as her own Lewis. Like fuck, like she's how do I say this? There's people who have played the Batman, the Joker, people who have played the characters in A Star Is Born, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Catwoman. I'm no longer just like saying like comic book characters. I'm talking about like roles that have been reprised from like other actors and like other types of stories, like Romeo and Juliet, but Lois Lane will make, like, she's perfect for this role. You know, we'll look back and be like, Lois Lane, Rachel Brosnahan's Lois Lane is like perfect, you know? And she is. This was a great casting. I really like her. Now, the rest of the Daily Planet. This is gonna be a shorter segment, but so Perry White, played by Wendell Pierce, he was okay. Beck Bennett, Steve Lombard, played by Beck Bennett. Okay, Perry White played by Wendell Pierce. He plays like the chief, the owner, the boss of the Daily Planet. Cat Grant, played by Michaela Hoover. I believe her role in the Daily Planet is she does like the fashion section of the Daily Planet. Correct me if I'm wrong. Beck Bennett plays Steve Lombard. He covers the sports section of the Daily Planet. And where is he? Jimmy Olsen, played by Skylar Gisondo. He's just a photographer in the Daily Planet. These characters, they're okay. They definitely filled up the Daily Planet, which I liked. I believe in the Man of Steel movie, it just seemed like it was just Lois. She was actually just traveling in the Man of Steel movie, and we didn't really get much from the Daily Planet. Here, it seemed like a workplace. It felt lived in. It gave character to Metropolis, and I really enjoyed that. You know, Jimmy Olsen, he's got that dog. He's a player. Honestly, he might be a villain, to be honest. Maybe he should be in the villain. He's a dog, honestly, he really is. But like, I don't know. Maybe respect. I don't know. Oof. He's oh damn. I don't know how to say this. Like, it was funny. It definitely made me laugh. But by the end of the movie, I was all like, I felt bad for the girls that were throwing himself at him, because it's like, but hey, he's a player, so I guess sure, but he's got player tendencies, characteristics, you know, like he's very nonchalant, like, oh my god, Jimmy, like, please, like like please, like, I'm gonna go ahead and put a TikTok here, because this is pretty much like how I see him.
Ladies, I'm trying to do my work today. Leave me alone type shift.
Shake your dress.
Ladies, come on. You know, you see me doing my work type shift.
But yeah, overall, the Daily Planet was cool. Steve Lombard, played by Beck Bennett, he's good. I believe he was from Saturday Night Live. I don't know if he's still in it. I think he left. I think he did like 2 seasons and then he left. But hey, he's a solid. He's got comedic timing. He was funny. He was funny. And yeah, those are my sections. Now we're gonna go into visuals. Okay. Now in terms of visuals, the last 2 things I'm gonna be covering is the visuals and the sound. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the sound. I'm gonna be honest, the sound was only okay. The soundtrack, it's obviously sampled from the 1978 movie, with, you know, just like, I think a bass, a guitar. Honestly, I'm not very like music savvy, but you know, you could hear the sample there. But I just wish there would have been like a newer, because obviously Man of Steel has its own Superman theme. I can't even sing it, but you know it when you hear it. Of course, I think Hans Zimmer did that. Hans Zimmer's just, you know, like a great composer, but of course they sampled it here, maybe just to like tap into that nostalgia. But it's not like I liked it, but I was expecting, I don't know, I didn't mind it. Let me just say that I didn't mind it. But it's whatever. I will say though that this movie did have like a good amount of like songs. They very much like the Guardians of the Galaxy, where there's like a fight going on and there's like a song from like a band, you know. They do that, you know. In Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I think they used The Chain by Fleetwood Mac for the team to fight over, like at the end scene. And there's like 3 scenes here where that happens, and those songs fit perfectly. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. But in terms of original sound in the movie, yeah, they just sampled it. There was like a nice, maybe generic, okay theme for like the villains, you know, like a beat, you know. It didn't seem like that complex, you know. There wasn't much to it, but that's that on that. But the visuals, there's this one scene that I really enjoy. Actually, I think I took a picture of it. When I take out my phone, I don't like use it throughout the whole movie, but when I watched it like the second time maybe, I was like, I need to take a picture of that. Oh man, you know what, I won't put it, but you'll know it, just because I don't want to get flagged or nothing, but you'll know it when you see it. And it's towards the end where somebody is seeing through the rear view mirror, and you just see sort of Superman fly up, and it sort of like gave me nostalgia to like maybe like the intro of like Justice League, or like the DC universe like intros, like logo thing, where like you see like the silhouette of Superman, and it's like, wow, you know. It was amazing. It was so good because it was just like, I don't know, like it was good. I also like that we saw Superman flying, and it wasn't like so like he wasn't mogging when he was flying, you know. You sort of saw like the air, the condensation in his face, you know, when he's like over there in Antarctica and stuff like that. I like the there obviously wasn't like anything new, like nothing's being reinvented here, but I enjoyed the flying scenes. I enjoyed this one scene when there's like a river type of thing and like a black hole. That was cool. There's a lot of color here, so I enjoy that. Nothing's like so like dim and like dark, you know. What else did I like? Again, when it comes to CGI, the dog was a little iffy, but hey, it is what it is. They obviously didn't want to like put a real dog at harm's way, so we give it a pass. But yeah, Superman, I like the visuals. They were pretty good. They were pretty good. Nothing super like revolutionary, but like it was like you were there flying with him, and you know, like it was it leveled up the action scenes, I felt like. Oh, and also the Green Lantern's constructs, they looked way better than what we got with like Ryan Reynolds, you know, Green Lantern. So I definitely feel like way better with how the Green Lantern's gonna be portrayed later on, you know. The cinematographer for this movie was the same one from The Flash, but it definitely had its own tone and like feel of the movie. So, you know, going in, I did have some concerns because The Flash, I enjoyed it, but it did look a little choppy, but that was just a CG. I'm sure they had like a different CG person here, a way better CG person here, but I just thought it was gonna feel like that. No, the whole feel, atmosphere, it felt like its own. It felt like a new universe. So I enjoyed that. I really did. What would I give this movie? I think I gave it like an 8.7. 8.7 out of 10. Obviously, it's not a perfect movie, but I really enjoyed it. It was a good, heartfelt movie. I cried. I teared up. There's just some things that really hit me, you know. And I hope when you watch this movie, you walk away like thinking, how can I make better choices today? It doesn't have to be like world changing decisions, but you know, just one choice at a time every single day. You know, it's just, And it's okay if you fail and you don't achieve it. It's okay, we're only human. But you know, we gotta get up and we gotta keep moving forward, one foot at a time. And I freaking love this movie. Had it not been anything, just like an action-packed movie, you know, I would have been like, oh, it's good. But like, I really felt something when I watched it. So I really like it, you know, and I'm looking forward to the future of this movie. So highly recommend you go watch it. Go watch it 2 times, 3 times. I really enjoyed this movie. I really liked it. I hope you go watch it. And yeah, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Stick around. I will be reviewing more movies to come, and I've got other videos planned. But yeah, I hope you have a great day. And go watch Superman ASAP, as soon as possible. And I was gonna show my shirt. I don't know if I've showed it yet, Superman. But yeah, thank you, and until the next one.